Klik TV KPM.
Welcome everyone to Slot Menengah Atas with me, Chris MJ, as your host. And in this episode, we will be focusing on Bahasa Inggeris together with teacher Liyana, as well as our pupils on Google Meets. Give me a wave, everybody. And are you ready? If you're ready, give me a double thumbs up for today's topic, which is high-tech photography. Okay, teacher Liyana, in our next segment, what are we going to focus on, teacher?
Okay, in our next segment, we are going to focus on listening exercise.
Okay. Listen.
Yeah, we need to be really attentive.
All right.
Okay, so now we are going to proceed. This is our title for this segment, Listening Attitudes to Photography. So later on, we will listen to some recordings in which the speakers would tell us their personal opinion and their attitudes towards photography.
All right.
Okay. So everybody, if you're at home, you can refer to download page 142, and for this segment, it's activities 2 and 3. But first, we'll look at activity 2. Okay, so activity 2, it's mostly about us identifying keywords. Okay, before we listen, we need to identify the keywords. Okay, so this is activity 2. Can I get someone to read the instructions for me?
Look at the list A until H and underline the most important words in each sentence. In instance, the words that differentiate each sentence from the others.
Okay, thank you, Hanani. So the instructions given to us is for us to look at the list that it's given A till H, and then we need to underline and identify the keywords.
Okay.
Why? Because it will be easier for us to identify the main ideas when the speakers talk.
Understand?
Okay. So, there's also one important note that we can find in our textbook. So if anyone could read this out loud, please.
Okay, maybe Hafiz?
The speakers are all talking about the same topic, so sentences A to H will probably have a lot of things in common. Make sure you read them carefully and underline the important words in order to fully understand the meaning of the sentences and how they differ from each other.
Okay, thank you, Hafiz. So one important tip that we can find in this textbook is we need to really go through A till H. Why? Because we need to fully understand what it means, because each speaker talks about the same thing. So we need to differentiate how the speakers are different from each other, from what they are speaking about.
All right. Okay, so before we proceed with the listening activity, maybe Miss Liyana could share with us what are the keywords that we should be paying attention to.
Okay, sure. So now let's go to activity 2.
Okay.
List A until H. So for the first part, anyone would like to share with us the keywords?
Me, teacher.
Okay, sure.
So the keyword for A is disagrees and modern technology.
Okay, what do you understand by that, Hanani?
I understand that the speaker might be talking about how they disagree with the way how modern technology works these days.
Wow.
So yeah, being whether they disagree or not with how modern technology works these days.
Okay.
So I think for the next ones, for B, I think that would be the keyword. Prefers to have his or her photo taken, meaning the speaker over here, he or she likes to take, likes for people to take his or her photos compared to him or her taking photos of others. Okay, and then next C, the keyword would be relies on latest developments, meaning this person really depends on the latest technology for him or her to work.
Right.
And then next for D, the keywords are not interested, complicated, and expensive. So this person over here, he or she is not interested with anything that's quite expensive and quite complicated. He or she prefers something simple. Okay, next would be E, needs help to keep up with changes. So this particular person needs others to maybe help him or her keep up with the latest technology. And then F doesn't understand the popularity of photography. So that's the keywords. And maybe this person really can't understand how photography has become so popular nowadays.
Right.
And then G, digital technology has taken the fun out of photography. So maybe one person thinks that when we use technology, it's not really that fun anymore as compared to when we take pictures ourselves.
Okay.
Okay. And H, impressed with the advances in technology. So for this person, he or she is maybe wowed by the advances, by the technology that's being used. Okay, so those are the important keywords that we need to understand. Okay, so after this, once we have understood the keywords, it's time for us to properly listen.
Okay. So everyone, pay attention for the next activity, teacher.
Yeah. Okay,
Right.
so for the next activity, this is where we match the extracts to the list given. Okay, for viewers at home, this is actually activity 3. So you can refer to activity 3,
Okay.
where there's the instructions given and list A till H. Okay, can I get someone to read the instructions out loud for activity 3?
Okay, maybe Razin.
Yes. All right. So the instructions, you will hear 5 short extracts in which people are talking about photography. For questions 1 to 5, choose from the list A till H what each speaker says about their attitude to photography. Use the letters only once. There are 3 extra letters which you do not need to use.
Okay, thank you, Razin. So based on the instruction, we will listen to 5 different speakers talking about their attitudes to photography. Okay, so you can only use the letters once, meaning if you choose for speaker 1A, you cannot use the option A anymore.
Okay, understood.
Okay? And most importantly, there are 3 extra letters which serves to somehow confuse us. So we need to be really careful when selecting what they say.
To make sure we really pay attention. Okay.
Okay, so we are going to proceed to the activity.
All right.
But before that, there are some important steps that you need to know. First, it's really advisable for you to know your derivatives, how each word could change to another word. Second, we need to read the list given, and this was just done by us. And then third, underline and understand keywords in the list. We did this as well just now.
Okay.
Okay, and then next, this is what we are going to do. Number 4, we need to listen carefully. Number 5, we need to choose the best answer. And number 6, since there are distractors, we need to cross out the chosen answers.
Okay. Understood.
Now, this is speaker 1. Okay, now I am going to guide you on how you can actually answer this question.
All right.
So for speaker 1, let's listen to what speaker 1 has to say.
Okay, pay attention, everyone.
Unit 11. Listening. Exercise 3. Speaker 1.
My cameras are the tools that I use to make a living. So obviously it's important that I'm fully up to date with all the cutting-edge developments in camera equipment. I've got 3 very expensive cameras with all the latest features. And of course, I've got lots of memory cards for transferring the images onto my computer for editing. As I can take thousands of photos in a working day, I'm very grateful for all the labor-saving programs that make my job easier. I love my work taking photos of people, but I wish people wouldn't try to take photos of me, as I hate having my own photo taken.
Okay, so that's the opinion of speaker 1. So after we listen, we need to choose our answer. Okay, let's say the answer that we have chosen is C,
All right.
in which it relies on latest developments in photographic technology. So once we have chosen the answer, we cross it out. Why? Because after this, we won't be looking at C anymore for the option. Okay, why do we say C? It's because this speaker, he says that the cameras are tools for him to make a living. So it's important that he's fully up to date with all the cutting edge developments. So those words that he said matches with C, relies on latest developments. Okay, so next we are going to go to speaker 2. And
Alright.
this time round, we'll get our pupils to do it for us.
Okay, so everyone pay attention and answer as we are listening.
Okay, so now let's
Speaker
listen
two.
to speaker 2.
I love taking photos, but most of mine are taken at parties, nights out or on holiday. What I need from a camera is simplicity. I'm not into complex cameras or having the latest technology. I'd rather have a camera that's user-friendly and cheap, especially as I have a habit of dropping or losing mine. If I drop my camera and damage it, I can't be bothered to get it repaired. I'd rather just buy a new one. Some of my friends just use their phones instead of a camera. But as my phone is quite expensive, I prefer to leave it safely in my bag and snap away with my cheap camera instead.
Okay, so now could anybody tell us what's the answer?
Okay, raise your hands. Okay, Razin.
The answer would be sentence D.
D.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, it is D. Can you tell us why, Razin?
Alright, if I listen carefully to the audio, the speaker thought that she wants a camera which is simple and not too complex. And another point that she wants a cheap camera so that she doesn't have to pay much if the camera is damaged one day.
So yeah, thank you, Razin. As what you have pointed out, the most important points here would be not into complex camera, so something that is simple. And then it's user-friendly and cheap as well. So that's why speaker D's statement matches with D. So
Alright.
not interested, yeah.
Good job, Razin.
Okay, next we're going to go to speaker number 3.
Okay.
So let's listen.
Speaker 3.
I used to have quite a good camera, but it broke about 6 months ago. I was going to get it fixed, but in the meantime I started using my mobile phone to take photos instead. I have to say that I was pleasantly surprised. The technology in phones these days has developed so much that it means the cameras are really good. I've actually been very happy with the photos I've taken with my phone, and it's all so convenient. I've always got my phone with me because I call people and send text messages a lot. So it means I've also always got a camera without having to carry another piece of equipment around. I don't think I'll bother getting my camera repaired at all.
So now who could tell us what's the answer for speaker 3?
Okay, Hafiz.
So I think the answer is H.
H. Let's have a look. Okay, yeah. Why do you think so, Hafiz?
Okay, in my opinion, that the speakers mentioned that he was surprised by the technology in phone these days that has developed so much, which it means that the phone's camera is nearly as good as a professional camera.
Okay, so let's have a look. Okay, so as you could see, speaker 3 mentioned that he was pleasantly surprised, just like what Hafiz said. And the technology in phones has developed so much. So it's almost as the same as a professional camera.
Yeah.
Okay, so good job, Hafiz.
Good job. Okay.
Okay, now we are going to proceed to speaker 4. Now let's have a listen.
All right.
Speaker 4.
If only you could believe what you see in photos. In the old days, we used to say the camera never lies, but that's simply not true anymore. Nowadays, everyone's using these programs to alter the photos digitally. Digital manipulation, I think it's called. Anyway, clothing and cosmetic companies have their photos altered to make the models look slimmer or more perfect. I'd rather see the real person, and wouldn't we all? I can't understand why messing about with photos is so popular. I think it's wrong.
Okay, now can I get anyone to answer this? Which one for speaker 4?
And Dina.
I think the answer is A.
Let's have a look.
Because
Yeah, it is A. Why, Dina?
because she mentions that she rather see the real person instead of the flawlessly edited one, and she also mentioned that she doesn't understand why photo manipulation such as Photoshop is so popular and think it's wrong.
So let's have a look. So yeah, she definitely does think it's wrong, and she would rather see the real person. So she can't understand why we should mess around with photos as it is. Okay, thank you, Dina. That's a very good point that you have stated. Okay, now we are going to go to speaker 5. Okay, let's have a listen.
Speaker 5.
I don't own a digital camera myself. I've still got my lovely old camera which uses a roll of film. It's terribly outdated now, but I prefer it that way. In the old days, taking a good photo used a lot of skill. You had to understand the complicated things about how the camera worked. Nowadays, it's all done for you, and even if you don't take the perfect shot, you can fix it electronically afterwards. I think that's cheating, and I can't see how modern photography is at all enjoyable. Where's the challenge and excitement in that?
Okay, so now
Right.
can I get someone to identify the answer for speaker 5?
Hanani.
The answer would be G. Thinks digital technology has taken the fight out of photography.
Okay, let's have a look. Yeah, it's definitely G. So why Hanani? Why do you say so?
The speaker mentioned that he can't see how modern photography is at all enjoyable. So he also mentioned that in the old days, you require skills and you need to learn how to take good photos. But nowadays, everything is done for you. So he can't see where's the challenge and this excitement in photography nowadays.
Okay, so let's have a look. So this is what the speaker said, and I think it matches with what Hanani said. Okay, so we can see how modern photography is at all enjoyable. So there's no challenge anymore.
So teacher, how did our friends do for this activity, teacher?
I think they perform excellently.
Excellently. Okay, good job everyone. Give yourselves a round of applause. Amazing, amazing job. So everyone was listening attentively. All right. So, but before we actually proceed any further, maybe teacher, could you share some reminders on the tips that pupils need to pay attention to when we have this listening exercise?
Okay, so for listening exercises, right, we need to have a pre-listening preparation as well.
All right.
So for example, number 1, that's pre-listening. So before you listen, know your derivatives, know how a word could change to other words. And it could come from same original word. For example, photography, photographic, so it's all in the same family.
All right.
Okay, after that, as a pre-listening as well, we need to read the list given. So there's time for you to have a look at the list. For example, the ones A till H, read it first.
Okay.
And then third, this is pre-listening as well. We need to underline and understand the keywords. So if you are not sure of what it is when you do exercises, you can definitely ask your friends, your teachers, or refer to the dictionary. And then while we listen, number 4, listen carefully.
Yes.
And I think our friends did
Not
this.
just listen, but listen
Yes.
carefully. Okay.
And then for number 5, this is after listening, whereby we need to choose the best answer. So after we have chosen the best answer, for number 6, we need to cross it out so it won't confuse us.
Right. There you have it. Thank you very much, teacher, for sharing those important steps that we all need to pay attention to as a pre-listening exercise or activity. All right, but before we proceed any further, teacher, is it okay we take a short break?
Yeah.
All right, so for my friends watching at home, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here with teacher Liyana for slot Menengah Atas Bahasa Inggeris.